Fish. Okay, welcome everybody. Ukumunz, I think she said she wants to take something downstairs. So I'll start recording. Let's push Bangan Mami. And I'm glad those questions that I sent earlier, they actually show okay, when you want to practice a certain question, which questions do you need to focus on. So I hope that I will continue getting stuff like that. I think that will help us a lot. Okay, but welcome once again, guys. I'm going to stop my video so that we can start reading our question. Okay, so you have your question ready. I'm not going to share because you guys have the question bank 2. Then I'm also going to open it on my side, and then that's what we'll start reading. Where is it? Okay, it's just here. All right, so okay, maybe just for reading, maybe I can share, right? And then when we answering questions, I will share my spreadsheet. All right, and then the reason why I want to share it is that so that you can see some important things. Okay, one thing that I think I've already mentioned the topics that you need to go through for UTES 3. So it's going to be Learning Unit 13 to Learning Unit 19. Okay. Learning Unit 13 to Learning Unit 19. Those are the topics that will be covered in Test 3. All right, let's quickly read our question. Where is it now? Okay, here. All right, so we are dealing with Edgar's Limited. Very important. Very important here. They said Edgar's Limited, also known as EDCAS. Right, what's important about I'm sharing? No. The question, remember I said it's your question bank 2. So you have the question. It's like but please organize while we're reading because Nama didn't share. That's in on my UNISA on your side. All right, sharp. Okay, Edgar's Limited. What's important here it is that this is a public company. How do we know? We know because of the name, right? And majority of your questions when it comes to financing, it is mostly public companies, right? If you can remember, most of the companies that we're dealing with when we're doing costing, it was private limited companies. But what I've noted is that when it comes to finance, most of the questions will be your public companies, right? What you must know then, it is that a company can be a public company, right, and not be listed JSE, right? So let me say it in this way, right? For a company to be listed in JSE, it has to be a public company, but it does not mean all the public companies are listed in JSE. I hope that makes sense. So this is a public company. So somewhere in the question, they will have to confirm to us that the company is listed in JSE Banganma. Okay. So the company is also known as EDCAS and is the largest non-food retailer in South Africa and is listed on JSE. Okay. So they did confirm, right, that the company is listed in JSE. Okay, so now when they're saying it's listed in JSE, you must think of issues of financing. That's a topic that we'll deal with, right? Because it is easier for company to raise issues of finance because They can trade their debt, right, under JSE. They can trade their shares under JSE, and also it improves their publicity because companies that are listed, right, there's a lot of requirements for companies to be listed, right? So for any company that is listed, it actually improves its profile also. But also on the other side, if you flip the coin, there are also issues because when a company is listed, there's a lot of requirements that are required by a JSE. So it can be very expensive for a small company. But you can see that, okay, this is not a small company. It is a largest non-food retailer. Okay. So they say the company is a leading, right, retailer. Okay. So what's important about that? So you can see that the company will have to maintain that profile, right? So meaning this company, that they will be concerned about issues like your reputation, right? They will be concerned about keeping that position there. Okay, so meaning, right, issues of customer service, right, issues of quality, it is things that they will be concerned about. Why? Because they will have to maintain this position of being a leader in the retail of clothing, home appliances, stationery, cosmetics, accessories, and cellular products in Southern Africa, right, with more than 3,000 retail stores, the majority of which are in South Africa. What is important here is that this company, it is not only in South Africa, but it is in Southern Africa. So what can you think of here? You can think of your currency risk, right, whereby we are selling in other countries using different currencies. So now when they're speaking of your Southern Africa, right, so I think I once mentioned this thing that, like, okay, when you guys are doing management accounting, right, it is required that you also you must also read wide, right? We are not saying, right, be a business analyst and stuff like that, but there are basic things that you need to be aware of, right? Your political climate, right, in your country, and your political climate in the surrounding countries, because that has, right, it could have a positive impact or negative impact in the companies that are within the country. Okay, so also there are countries like Congo, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, DRC is part of SADC countries, right? And we know what is happening in Congo. So it might happen that this company is operating in Congo, and we know that now at the moment, as we are aware, not so long ago South Africa was sending soldiers to Congo to go and assist there with the civil war that is happening there. Okay, so if this company is operating in a country like Congo, right, there is political instability. So with that political instability, it also raises what we call business risk, right, because we might not be able to sell our products there because of the war that is happening. Okay, and then this company also has 3,000 retail stores. What can you think of here? Right, you can think of control issues. I'll give you a basic example. There's one ShopRite that is in Arcadia, close to where we live, right? And then there's one ShopRite in Sunnyside, right? And if you check the service that you get in ShopRite in Arcadia and the service that you get in ShopRite in Sunnyside, it looks like it's two different shops, right? And when it comes to controls, one company that has got their controls perfectly is a company like McDonald's, right? In terms of quantity, in terms of quality, in terms of service, right? Even if you go in McDonald's in USA, the time that you spend waiting for your own burger, it will still be the same time. They thrive to make sure that it's still the same time that you wait, right, for the same burger in South Africa, right? The quality of the burger that you get in a different country, they thrive to make sure that it's still the same quality that you will get somewhere else, right? So the risk that arises here, it is the risk of controls, because the controls that might be working in a certain store, they might not be working in another store. Okay, right? And then they said in South Africa, Edgars caters for different LSM groups. This means the income groups, right? And also has become one of South Africa's most trusted brands. This goes hand in hand with what we mentioned here, that okay, this company is a leader, right, in their own right within this industry. And then now you can see that this company also, it has created its name to be a trusted brand, right? So meaning this company will be concerned, right, about issues of reputation, right? So anything that will damage their name, they will make sure that they correct it very fast. Okay. All right, the company's main rivals are clothing retailers with less exposure in home appliances and cellular products retail market than Edcast. Home appliances, I think there's somebody who joined. Who's Mashiko, guys? I'll just admit then. I'll check it later. All right. They said home appliances and related cellular products tend to have higher margins than the clothing segment, right? And these items are generally sold on credit due to their high value, all right? What could be the issue here? They can have an issue of, since they are selling these high valued products on credit, they might have an issue whereby some of the people that they sell to might not pay accordingly. So here you can see that we are talking about issues of ensuring that we actually give credit to the customers that are credit worthy. Okay, because you must know that we can actually incur a lot of costs here. The reason being, these are very high valued products. Okay, so you can see that from 2 paragraphs, there's a lot of information that we have gathered. All right, there's a lot of information that we've gathered. So this goes back to what we were talking about, Lester, earlier, that okay, I'm not sure what's going to be your studying method going forward, right? But you need to find a balance, right, on the questions that you practice, right, and understanding, you know, making sure that your information or your knowledge is solid on certain topics. I was listening to a video yesterday, right, on it was done by this other Chinese young man. He was talking of the best ways of studying, okay? And then he was talking about something that I was doing for the longest time, you know, whereby, Lester, you go through your test book, right? And then you start writing. Firstly, you'll be like, I will write only the important points. And then, you know, down the studying time, you find yourself copying exactly what's written in your test book, right? And you're copying it to your notes. And then what happens, right? It gives you some form of satisfaction, because when you look after 2 hours or 3 hours, you've written about 6 or 7 pages of notes, right? And you feel satisfied that you've been working so hard, because when you're opening the pages, you see so many pages. But if you check, right, in terms of your quality, the notes that you would have understood, only to find that, okay, actually it was not quality study, right? It was just copying the notes as they are, and then you're copying them to your book. Okay, why am I sharing this with you guys? I'm sharing this with you so that, like, based on the example that we just read now, only from 2 paragraphs, we can gather so many notes, right? So with me, right, if I had to share my opinion, right, we need, I think we need 60-70% of practicing questions, and then 30% of ensuring that your knowledge is solid when it comes to the topics that you will have encountered in the question. Like here we are reading about, this is a question that is combining a lot of different questions. So now, I mean, a lot of different topics. So if you see that there's a topic that you are not sure about, based on this question, then you go and read it so that you ensure that your knowledge is solid. Okay. So now they're saying the influx of discounted Chinese imports coupled with high unemployment rates has put the company's margins under pressure. So what is the issue here? The issue is competition. How does competition affect us? Competition will affect us in the way that we might not be able to sell, right, the number of products that we would have sold if these discounted Chinese imports were not around, right? And then unemployment rates, how does this affect us? It affects us because it means the number of people, right, with disposable income, it's becoming less, right? So meaning we might have a challenge in having, right, people that are buying our products. I want to give you an example, guys, right? Economy is all about consumption, right? A lot of people, I see that they do not understand this thing, that okay, Nigeria, when I don't know if anyone in the group here has been to Nigeria, but Nigeria for the longest time has been regarded as the biggest economy in Africa. But because people do not have, some people that I've met, let me not generalize, or some people that I've listened to, right, they will equate the economy of Nigeria with their currency, right? But forgetting that Nigeria is bigger in numbers. Last time I checked, the population of Nigeria was over 300. I think in South Africa it's 50 something million. Yes, in Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken, I stand to be corrected, but they were over 300 million, if I'm not mistaken, right? So what does that mean? Okay, it means Nigeria is bigger in terms of, I think it's 100 million or 300 million. Somebody can check for us while we busy here, right? So how is that important? It is important because, right, it means Nigeria is bigger in terms of consumption compared to other countries. Do you see that? So I'm sharing this with you guys in terms of these unemployment rates, because if you have a larger number like what we're having now, a larger number of people not being employed, that will have a negative impact on the products that we are selling. And remember, we also have a challenge here when it comes to competition, because now there's been an influx, understand the word influx, right, of discounted Chinese imports. Okay. Then the recent depreciation of the rand against world's major currencies, exacerbated by local politics, has sent the JSE share index into a downward spiral, and the shareholders of Edgar's Group Limited have also seen a sharp decline in their investment value in the company. Okay, Edgar's managed to increase its sales in the current year by almost a double-digit figure despite strict lending guidelines. Okay, this increase is partly as a result of more robust marketing campaign the company embarked on during the financial year. 15 new stores opened in November 2015 and have performed above expectations, which is a positive thing. Management of Edcars has invested a significant amount of capital in getting these stores fully functioning. The prime lending rate during the current financial year was 11.25% per annum, and there are 365 days in a year. The target capital structure of Edcars, it's 40-60. Something very important that I will share with you when it comes to this ratio at some point. Okay, the statement of comprehensive income and statement of financial position of Edcars Group are provided below. Okay, there is your income statement, revenue, cost of merchandise. You must understand the wording, right? Remember, this company is in retail. Okay, so it is good that they said cost of merchandise. Okay, so these are basic things that you won't find them in a textbook, but through practicing a lot of questions, and when your understanding is increasing, you get to see such small things, but they make a difference because this shows that you truly understand the question that you are reading. Okay, gross profit, other operating income, other income, trading expenses, net finance cost, profit before tax, taxation, profit for the year, dividends interim, dividends final, return income for the year. Okay, weighted average number of shares, number of outlets, staff complement, share prices closing. Statement of financial position and current assets, PPE, other investments, goodwill. Okay, see goodwill here, it should actually tell you a story also. Where do we talk about goodwill? We talk about goodwill in IFRS 3, Kumutso reporting, financial reporting. Okay, we talk about goodwill when there is acquisition of your subsidiaries. Okay, so these are small things that we identify when we are reading the questions, and it gives us a bigger picture of what we're dealing with. Okay, then you've got inventory, trade and other receivables, which is your retail, prepayments, cash and cash equivalents, and then your total assets, right? And then stated capital, other reserves, retained income. Okay, this one, something that we will talk about when we are talking about sources of finance, right? Because we'll be talking about issues like your debentures or your convertible debentures, right? Whereby you'll find that an equity instrument is a combination of your debt and your equity. That equity that's from your convertible instrument, it is not recorded under your stated capital. It has a different line, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Then you've got your retained income. Okay, so this is a topic from your equity and liabilities. It's a topic on its own, and we will cover this on your sources of finance. Okay, long-term portion of interest-bearing debt. Be careful of this one, right? Because you must know that in financial accounting, if you've got any debt that is payable in the next financial period, it is moved from your non-current liabilities to your current liabilities. But when we do calculations, we take your total debt. So this debt and this debt is the same thing. Then you've got your deferred tax, that is your ISA 12, right? Post-retirement medical benefits, so this is your employees, trade and other payables, operating lease liabilities, leases, IFRS 16 if I'm not mistaken. Okay, and then on your notes, note number 1, it is on your income statement. It deals with your revenue. What did they say? They said of the 23.7 billion sales made during the year, about 16.6 were on credit, right? So I will be concerned here, okay? But not too concerned because we do not know the whole story, right? And be careful here, because if you remember, we read a statement here that said, right, most of high value products, right, with higher margins are sold on credit. So this 16.6 billion, right, it might happen that okay, it's actually few items that have a higher value, right? Or it might happen that we are actually selling majority of our stuff on credit. So we need to be careful on that one. But you can see my line of thinking on that statement that I just read. Okay. Over the years, Edgars has maintained healthy relationships with suppliers, so this is a positive thing, right? Resulting in discounts received. Okay. In discounts received and flexible payment terms. So that's actually something positive, that we've got a very good relationship with our suppliers, right? So our suppliers are very important, guys, in the sense that, remember that for us to create our final product, we need to have very good relationships with our suppliers. And I want to also bring something important when we are reading that point, right? That, remember, in when we're doing costing, we spoke about your just in time, right? Just in time, it is a very useful model, especially in the current operating environment, okay, where things change very fast. So, and it is advisable, if the environment permits, for companies to adopt systems like just in time, right? Because remember, customer preferences have changed. Okay, so if you stock up your inventory only to find that people, they do not want your crop tops anymore, they moved to a new fashion, right? And then you've got all the inventory lying in your warehouse. Okay, I'm mentioning this, guys, so that you see how important this point is, right? So that if this company wants to introduce a system like a just-in-time, right, it will be able to work here, because the customer, this company has healthy relationships with their suppliers. Okay, purchases for the year amounted to 12.1 billion, of which 90% was secured on credit, and it makes sense because we have healthy relationships with our suppliers. Okay, the company also maintains a gross profit percentage of 32% on clothing brands, excluding homeware and cellular products. Other income relates to dividends received from investments, which is your marketable securities in listed retail companies outside the country. Trading expenses comprise of your trading expenses, depreciation and amortization, employee cost, occupancy costs, net bad debts, other operating costs. So only got to learn at a very later stage ukuthi occupancy is just your rent, guys, ne? So that's just your rental. Finance costs for the year amounted to 12.1 billion, right? So when you see your finance cost, it's actually very, very good that you compare your finance costs, right, with your so this is in millions. Is it in millions or what? Did they mention? Yeah, they said it's in million. So our debt is currently how much? 5,300,000,000, and then our finance costs, yeah, they said it's how much is 1.2 billion. Okay, so let's check something interesting, right? Apologies, I did not include the short term, so meaning it's going to be 8.3 in total. So now what you can do here, and you can actually check how much assets do we have. We've got 3.3. Okay, so we've got 3.3, so you can see that your debt is actually more than your assets. If this company wants to increase their debt, chances are high that, okay, if they obtain the debt, right, they can actually be charged a higher interest, because now you can see that their debt compared to their assets is actually way more. It's actually double, because their total debt is 8.3 and the assets, the PPE that they have, it's 3.3, right? So this could be the reason why we've got finance cost of 1.2 billion, because our debt is very high. Okay, and then they said on interest income received on credit, bank balance was 200 million. Interest bearing debt at 30 September 2015 was 11 billion. Incorporate income tax rate of 28% is applicable. Then this is your required profitability ratios, return on capital, liquidity ratios, capital structure ratios, and then financial market ratios. And then the last question will be your risks. Okay, so let's start for today. What we'll talk about, it's just this part of your profitability ratios. So I'm going to stop sharing this, and then we will start answering our questions. So while I'm busy sharing something else, if there's anybody who wants to ask the question, they can yes, thank you, Mlanga, I can see your message. You can ask now, or you can write on the chat, and then I will look at them 10 minutes before we finish our discussions. Okay, so I'm gonna start sharing my Excel now, and as communicated earlier, I hope you guys, you have your question bank open. All right, okay, assuming that we are all fine for now, there are important things that I will want to share before we start. Okay, so we can call these general notes, right? Okay, so number one, what are we dealing with? We are dealing with profitability ratios. What's important about profitability ratios, you must know what is it that they try to answer. What is the question that the profitability ratios try to answer, right? So we are saying the profitability ratios, right, analyze the ability of the entity to generate income, control expenses, right, and generate profit. So you can see, right, from what we just mentioned here, we said income, control expenses, and generate profit. So what does this mean? It means majority of these ratios, they will come from your income statement. Okay, because in your income statement, that's where we speak about your income. That's where we speak about your expenses. And that is where also your profit is calculated. Guys. Okay. Just a sec. I need to. Right. How do I? All right. Apologies on that.